Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, show where we give you a regular geeky download. My name's Tommy, and I am delighted, as always, to be joined by my friend and coach from across the pond. It's DL.
What's going on, Thomas? Sorry, a bit slowed on the uptake
there. Those pauses are getting longer.
So I'm trying to think of like a new way to say hello, but there's just no way. Hi, man.
Hello, how are you?
How are you doing?
Man, I'm good. How's things?
Yeah, they're good. They're good. Just fucking wild as is always. But
dude, I tell you what, like. I went up to the Bondi Junction just a moment ago to grab some stuff, and I honestly found out what it's like to be waterboarded. I had my mask on. I had my mask on.
The rain.
And oh my god, I got drenched, and I was like, oh god, I was dying. I thought I was in like Guantanamo or some shit.
He sounds like he's someone driving in LA. They just forget how to drive when it's raining.
It's wet and wild out there, man. It's meant to be summer, isn't it?
Wet and wild. Isn't that like a
theme park something?
Wet and Wild is like porn site or
I mean, very possibly. I was going theme park.
I think it is also a theme park. Yeah.
You go with whatever looks best in your eyes.
Look, I just I'm like, this sounds familiar. Anyway, yeah, man, I've been good. How are you?
Man, ticking along. What have you been up to this week, buddy?
I have been basically. I got a Seinfeld episode in. One Seinfeld episode.
Yikes! Just the one?
Just a single Seinfeld episode.
One Seinfeld, please.
Yeah, it was the one where Elaine and Jerry put up rules for how they're gonna be friends with benefits.
You're talking to the wrong guy.
I'm for the view, like hopefully someone that
someone will get it.
This knows Seinfeld.
Aussies get.
It's a very famous episode. They used to date right off screen, like you never saw them in the show date, but they like are friends now.
People tell me this, yes.
And in this episode, they go where you're not supposed to go. Right? They dabble. Yeah. And they set up rules that's going to make friends with benefits work. Yeah.
But like the film with Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. But I don't think they ever revisit it after.
Oh, okay.
Which is funny. They just forget that it happened. At least so far I've watched.
I like stuff like that in TV shows when it can just happen. Like I remember I told you about Community a little while ago. Yeah. When like stuff all happens and they just don't ever mention it again.
Yeah.
Like the two main characters in the first episodes, I'm saying in quotation marks, in the first season or so, like it's the will they won't they, and then it just comes out in, like the fourth season they were hooking up all along. They just didn't tell anyone. I love stuff like that.
That's what like a good sitcom does, I think. So I watched that. I watched I think I didn't really I started a bunch of reading, so I'm still reading that one book. Love it.
The Tome.
Wise Man's Fear, the Tome. It's another tome.
I'm excited to hear about it.
I mean, you're starting the journey with the first book. And then I also started writing the Fundamentals of DeFi, which is about crypto, because I feel like there's so much stuff going on with crypto.
Bro.
I got to try and understand it.
Step away. I don't need to be in crypto. I don't need any of that in my head.
You don't need to be in it, but I'm reading a book on it just to try and educate myself.
I've had a buddy back home, a buddy called Mark, and he literally has not stopped talking about crypto for the last like 7 years, maybe more.
He's probably made some money. Then.
He's not made that much money.
He's
not that intelligent.
Yeah.
No, he is. He's great. But he like literally just bangs on about it all the time. And like he doesn't ever tweet. And then occasionally I'll go on Twitter and I'll be flicking through and he'll have just retweeted like a thing about some weird cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
That's like on the rise. And I'm like, I know nothing. I just don't care. But what about all this non-fungible token stuff, the NFT? Like
that seems to me like to be a bit of a.
I feel like it's all a trap.
It's a little bit overhyped.
It's a trap.
No, there's like seems to be valid like uses for it. Like it's a trap. I'm just imagining him with like a fucking NFT. Right, a trap. Screenshot it. Don't buy it.
It's a trap.
Yeah, there's uses for it. Like I think like.
Look, this is way out of my wheelhouse.
Baseball
can we
cards?
talk about geeky stuff again?
This is for sure, surely geeky.
Geeky in my
This might be
nerdy,
actually. But there's like uses for it for like baseball cards and stuff. Like like if a baseball card has inherent value because it was time dated and stamped, like you could basically make a modern version of that with like plays in basketball, like LeBron's dunk. Like you own the rookie card of LeBron when he made this dunk, and it's an image. I think there's value in that, but that's about. There's not a lot more that I can really think
I don't really get it. The meta stuff that happened in the last week, like Facebook's rebranding, like oh man, that goes way over my head.
It's weird because I think that like Facebook could have actually been the one person to like create a cryptocurrency that was useful.
I thought they were trying to.
They are, but now they've like changed the way it is, and
now they're going to be Black Mirror.
To be honest, I haven't kept up.
Dude, the thing he was presenting, Zuckerberg was presenting about Meta, It literally was the Black Mirror episode. There's one with
I was
Anthony
gonna say
Mackie.
that we should do an episode on like Black Mirror stuff. There's so many things that are actually
big
like
time.
reality.
That could even
happening.
be. That could even be like another one of our famous, long spanning series of episodes.
Man, the fact that they renamed it Meta is so funny to me.
I don't know if it'll ever
So
actually take on.
What is the thing?
What else have you been up to outside of?
What is the thing that we can name it that is the most abstract?
Yeah.
Meta.
I mean, Facebook is pretty abstract. Like, it's a book of faces. Like, is this Game of Thrones? Is this the Hall of Faces?
It's also just like a fucking. It's like meta, but it's also like literal. Like it's a. This is a book of literal faces. You click through this site, it's just a bunch of people's faces, which is what it is. Anyway, I don't know how we got on this fucking topic.
You know the Social Network, the one with Jesse Eisenberg?
Oh, that's what I watched. Sorry,
you
brought me full circle.
Oh, awesome, perfect.
The Silence by Martin Scorsese. With him and
Jesse Eisenberg we're talking about.
Yeah, well, not Jesse Eisenberg, but the other guy. He's the Spider-Man as well.
Oh, okay, Andrew Garfield.
Or Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver are both in it.
Oh, okay.
It's fucking not something I'd recommend.
Really? Why so?
So it's not that it's bad, but it's like a classic Oscar movie.
Okay, okay.
That, like
Oscar
I'm just
bait.
like I wasn't entertained that much.
Oh man, I hate Oscar bait movies. They annoy me so much.
Well, like some of them are good when they're about topics I'm interested in.
Sure.
This was about like two priests trying to like basically
not hook
evangelize Japan during samurai era. So Shogun.
That sounds kind of interesting.
It was interesting. I'm not gonna say I wouldn't recommend it. Like, but when I go into Scorsese movies, like I'm expecting a certain type of thing. Honestly, like a certain type of genre flick, and this is so different than anything else he's made.
Honestly, I had no idea he'd made a movie about any of that stuff.
Same.
That's so interesting.
I was about to start it just because of Adam Driver alone. Then I was like, wait, Scorsese directed this?
What?
Fucking, I'm in.
Are you sure he's the director, not just the producer?
I'm pretty sure.
That's so
to be fun, that'd be really embarrassing, but let's see.
I mean,
IMDb.
How long was the movie?
It was long.
Oh, that's probably a Scorsese movie then.
It was long. There were strong acting performances, as there is. Who else is in it? Very briefly, is Liam Neeson.
Oh, I hate Liam. You know I hate Liam Neeson.
Do you?
I hate him.
He's good.
This is one of my weird agendas in Hollywood.
Good.
Like, there's not many people that I just genuinely dislike. And honestly, it's not even him. It's him as an actor, specifically as an action star. So there's up until the point he did Taken, I was like, yeah, he's fine. And he made Taken, and everyone else went,
fine.
Oh my god,
then he made
amazing.
like The Wolves.
Well, no, it was my problems with Taken specifically, and everything after that, because there's a very specific scene in that when he jumps off a bridge.
A specific set of skills.
Well, he jumps off a bridge onto a boat, and he's 60 if he's a day, and I'm like, I couldn't do that, and I'm mid-30s. I get it, it's an action movie, but I'm like, his knees crumple. Like, he's an old man. And everything after that,
just don't worry about those shitty movies.
I can't.
He does other good movies.
No, I can't watch him. He's bad.
He just wants to get paid.
He's getting paid. Like, fair enough. Go on, sorry, Scorsese.
Anyway, yeah, I watched The Silence, which is
it is
Scorsese. Yeah.
Oh wow. When's it from? What year was it in?
It is. Survey says 2016.
Ah.
Director.
Okay, I didn't even.
Martin Scorsese. I hadn't even fucking heard of it.
That's so weird. I've never even heard of that. Like, as if that sneaks out. And you think it's Oscar bait?
You think it's Oscar made? Is that what you said?
Do you think it's Oscar bait? Do you think it was made?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, it's Scorsese, so anything he makes is probably gonna get some credence. But
except for The Irishman.
This was like, did it not get one thing?
The Irishman was like almost Razzie territory, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
It was not good.
I never watched it.
It was like fucking like 12 hours. It was like the Justice League.
I always wanted to watch it, but every time I sat down to actually do that, I was like, this is a 3.5 hour movie.
Can't do
and
it.
I was like, I'm just not prepared mentally, But I bet it is good. I've heard people say they liked it. But whoever actually finished.
I just feel like his movies are all real intense the whole way through.
Exactly.
I can't deal with 4 hours of intense.
Exactly.
Movie.
It's a very big commitment.
Yeah.
And I have yet to be ready.
But
I am flying back to America soon.
Oh God.
So I'm, I got a 14-hour flight and some whiskey.
Ooh.
The Irishman sounds fucking great. Maybe that's what I'll download.
You need to get it on your iPad.
Yeah, I'll just download it.
What else have you been up to? Anything else?
No, that's about. I mean, DeFi, The Wise Man's Fear, Seinfeld, one episode, and The Silence. That's been my.
The Silence. Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's been my thing.
I've been talking all about my love of Apple shows.
You're not really your love of them.
No.
Your affinity to watch them.
Yes. Remember last week I told you I started one called Invasion?
Yes.
right? And I was like, oh, it's 4 episodes. Great. I'll just watch it. Get it over with. It's not 4 episodes. I watched another episode and found out that it's weekly. So I was like, I'm never going to watch all of this, and just stopped. It's too long. It's just nonsense.
It's the same thing as your other complaint.
Yeah. I actually don't mind the acting in this one. Like, it's quite, like, gripping and intense.
Yeah.
But, like, the episodes are over an hour long, and I'm like, I'd never have that amount of time to just sit down and just watch something.
Have you been watching Ted Lasso?
I did watch Ted Lasso.
So this is something I've heard I need to watch.
It's the first season's excellent. I watched that.
Is that Apple?
I watched it based off friend of the show, Lad Banterpod's recommendation.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things from people, so
that's definitely
I should watch it. Yeah.
So I've gone away from watching Invasion, and I instead watched another wildly different thing. So I sat down on Sunday, and I was actually a little ill on Sunday. I wasn't feeling my best, so I had a good day of getting content in, and I finally got around to watching goddamn Mad Max Fury Road.
It's a good movie.
Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Very intense though, like a lot.
It's a bit like hair metal, but
yeah. And I find it really weird that Tom Hardy doesn't really say anything.
That's his thing, dude.
Yeah, he's like
it's
grunts
all about his eyes.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I love the idea of that post-apocalyptic future. Like, they're in everything nowadays, and it's always that aesthetic now since this one movie.
Yeah,
really good though. Furiosa, unreal in this. She's so good.
I forget. Is she Charlize Theron? Yeah, I want to rewatch that. I'm surprised they never made another one.
Well, there's been talk of a sequel to that in the works. Sorry, a prequel about.
Well, because wasn't there 3 with Mel Gibson or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently, they get like better as they go along.
So there you go. Like, it seems like the perfect thing to.
And it's the same director, but he's like 90 now, so I don't know if he's got another movie in him, to be honest.
God, there's a 90-year-old human on this earth that made that movie.
Yeah, he was like late 80s.
That's crazy.
Crazy, right?
Because like,
but apparently he'd written it ages ago.
Because that's like a very gruesome and like.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you don't stop watching gruesome stuff just because you get old.
I just mean like anyone anyone that's like 88 or 90 born in a different time, man. It's crazy that they'd be
probably saw some stuff,
movie.
Man. He probably saw some
sounds like it.
Well, anyway, I watched a couple of other things super quickly.
We've not trying to be ageist, but
we've talked about Cowboy Bebop coming out on Netflix.
That
soon.
I'm excited about. It looks really cool.
Yes, I thought I'd start the anime just to get a little view of it, see what it was like.
Just so you could spoil yourself.
No.
God, you're fucking predictable.
I've only watched one episode because I wanted to get a feel of the vibe of it, see what it was like.
The trailers for that.
I enjoyed it. It was good.
Right, now you're gonna watch more of it.
No, I'm not.
Spoiled.
I'm doing exactly the opposite of what I always do.
No, you're not.
I actually had that
you're
thought
doing
in my
exactly
head.
what you always do.
I had that thought in my head. I went, you know what? I did this with everything else. Like the first half of Doom.
Therefore, I will continue to
myself.
do it.
I haven't. I've only watched one episode. There's another thing on Netflix called Inside Job that I started.
Is that a show?
It's like an animated series about like if the world was actually run by like lizard people and all this stuff.
What?
It's that sort of Rick and Morty humor. That sort of like real backhanded compliments and like just very like aggressive peoples. But good. I enjoy it. It's got that sort of Netflix sensibility to it though as well. So it's all right.
That's good, man. I'm looking for like honestly, it's been a while since I've been engrossed in like a 5 to 6 season show.
Oh yeah,
that is very, very character driven and well written.
Good luck.
And I'm just thinking like I might have to go to the past.
Have you heard about this show Foundation?
No, I might have to go to the past, bro. I might have to like rewatch The Sopranos. I never finished it.
Did you ever watch The Wire? That's supposed to be.
The Wire as well.
I started to watch The Wire and it's good. It's a little dated.
Is it though? I've heard
by
that
the technology and stuff.
Yeah, but that's like almost like a sign of the time. That's cool. Like it's a timepiece now. Right?
That's true.
But is it like date? When I hear the word dated describing something, it means like to me, I'm watching an '80s movie that's good, but then the soundtrack takes me out of it. You know, because it's like '80s music that should have been a little bit more diverse, but it's just a bunch of synths.
I feel like
is it that kind of dated?
No, I think it's a case of like, so for example, and you get this in a lot of things like horror movies nowadays, whereby a lot of the things that could easily be solved with like a quick text or whatever, they're not doing that because they don't have the technology to do that.
So put yourself in that mind space.
I found that difficult, like in our day and age. But like, it's the same thing. I've not really watched Breaking Bad either. So
see, Breaking Bad, I also didn't finish.
It was a chore.
Sometimes it felt like Breaking Bad was like too slow for me.
Dude, I got to the episode where there's a fly and they were following a fly around for like an hour, and I was like, "This." what?
I don't remember that.
What is happening? And I just turned it off. I was like, nah, this is. But apparently, that's like the second season. Apparently, it's after that. If you just keep persisting.
After that, it got big.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah.
I like that they stuck to their guns as well. They kind of went, look, 4 seasons, or was it 5, whichever.
I think it was 5.
We're like, that's it, no more. This is how it ends, and they stuck to it, which I really like.
I never really like. I liked Breaking Bad, but like it wasn't like I understood why people liked it, but I never would have put it in my like top echelon of dramas like some people would.
Fair enough.
I don't know
That's
why.
on a lot of people's Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, it is.
We haven't talked about it for a while. We should come back to that at some point.
Okay.
Speaking of both NFTs and older movies, did you hear this week Quentin Tarantino is apparently releasing 7 uncut scenes from Pulp Fiction as NFTs?
See,
with a handwritten script and commentary for the film.
That is why NFTs are powerful.
That's worth it.
You want to understand why why he's doing that.
Yeah.
When you release those and you sell them to someone with a physical token or like with a physical property,
like a thing,
he gets to sell it one time. But when he sells this, anytime it gets resold, he'll get a royalty in perpetuity.
I did not know.
And
that.
It's all on blockchain.
Oh.
So that's one of the other few use cases is for creatives to release content as NFTs now
and keep getting something for it.
Yes. Now, I don't know how you invest in something like that. Like it's all beyond me. That's why I'm reading the book.
Lots of money.
Anyway,
well, apparently there's a show that I think Mila Kunis is involved in that is exactly the same concept, but it's like $25,000 to buy one, just to buy the option to watch this like animated show, and I'm like, no.
Not in the golden age of television.
No, I think I'm all right. I don't need it. It doesn't fucking look good either. Well, anyway, did you hear this week that apparently Black Panther 2 has had production shut down because Letitia Wright has been injured on set?
God, as if Marvel needed more.
Yeah, well, they're hopeful that
slowing it down.
Hopeful that it'll restart early 2022. But like, God, that's very Harrison Ford, isn't it? Getting injured on set, having to shut things down. There seems to be a lot of this at the minute. We talked about it last week.
Fuck, I can't wait for The Witcher.
December.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good. Don't have any Witcher news, unfortunately.
No, but I randomly thought about that because he pulled his hammy or something.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, it was like a big thing. Like he pulled it really bad. It was like almost off the bone or some shit.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, the Letitia Wright thing. Apparently, she only wants to do she only wants to be that sort of like lead character in it for one movie. So whether she is going to be the Black Panther or she's going to be like the conduit to the next Black Panther or whatever, she only wants to be like leading for one film, which I find really interesting. She's just not interested in that spotlight, and I get it. I mean, like the Marvel stuff is pretty hectic.
Yeah, I don't know. If I was an actor, I'd probably be down.
I mean, they're just shilling money at you. Yeah,
just devil's advocate here. Like it's worked out for most people, but
it's true.
Yeah, I guess to each their own. Have you heard anything about? Have you heard this stuff about Squid Games 2?
Squid Games 2.
Yeah, he's confirmed to be writing a new season.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be good, but.
Well, I mean, he left it so open, like that ending. Spoilers for Squid Games, by the way.
Yes, spoilers for Squid Games. But part of what made it so crazy is we were finding it out along the way.
Yes.
So anytime you have a show like that tries to make a second season, I almost feel like what story? It's
the Westworld effect. Yeah,
it is. Well, it's that, but it's also like what's another one? It's like God, whenever I'm on the spot, I'm useless. But
I feel like there's a lot they
any
can,
kind of like Saw, like you know what I mean, like
yeah.
Anyhow where there's like a mystery, it's like, and you figure it out. Like, what are you gonna say?
Well, I feel like there's a lot more you can do with that. So they left so many characters untouched, really. So there was the guy who was front of house, whatever, the guy's brother. There was all of the VIPs. There's obviously going to be new seasons of these new characters coming in, so you can go back and try and stop it. Open it up, get the police involved, whatever it might be. The police guy might not even be dead, so...
I mean, there's obviously loose ends.
Yes.
But I guess my point is for it to like have the same impact. Like, what new angle are you going to bring to this thing that no longer has shock value?
I would love to
You know what I mean?
It,
like,
yeah.
It's got to be something else, too.
I'd love to think of it as what they do is they almost just do carbon copy of the first one. So they start with a new set of characters. They go in. But at the same time, halfway through... you start seeing the guy who won the last one trying to infiltrate and
so
sort
the same
of
story,
expose
but just
it.
sub in the cop. With
Exactly, sub out the cop. Yeah.
So
But then
that's my point, though. You're proving my point. I think like you have to take because the theme they had.
You invested in that guy.
It had strong themes, and so my point is like they could use those strong themes and take a new light on them. But I wouldn't want to just follow another season of Squid Games. There'd have to be more going on that also explored new themes. Personally, for me to be like super invested. Yeah.
Let me quickly rattle off a couple of bits of news for you. I think you've got more information on the game stuff than I do, so I'm going to come back to that quickly. Couple of bits then. Black Adam producer promises a very high kill count. So this is the Dwayne Johnson DC movie. Sure.
Awesome.
All right. That's more Man of Steel. Just what we need. Did you also hear this week, IGN were reporting that original Harry Potter director Chris Columbus sailed to America, wants to get the gang back together as an adaptation of The Cursed Child. No, I sent you it.
Okay. Sorry.
All good. No, he wants to get...
You could repeat that if
you want. No, he wants to get the old gang back together.
Okay.
Gang.
Don't want to at all.
No, I don't want to at all. I've heard that's bad.
It's so bad.
Have you seen the stage play?
I read it.
Okay, you've not seen it. Okay.
I read it and I said, no, don't make it. And they made it anyway.
Over 2 nights as well. Oh my God, imagine going back.
It's just not good. It's just not good.
Well, Chris Columbus is one of the ones that I didn't really like as a director.
Which one did he do?
I think he did the original one. He definitely did the original ones. I think he came back for some later on. But just get me Alfonso Cuarón, the guy who did the third one. The one that's creepy as shit and like
no one could make this source material good, so I would just...
No. Okay, all right.
You know that J.K. Rowling, she didn't even write it.
Which one? No. Did she?
No, she didn't.
The Cursed Child?
Some other person wrote it.
There you go.
Yeah, it's
all right. Did you hear this week that Mass Effect have announced a potential new game?
You did.
It was
Send me this.
Just an image.
It's a bit underwhelming.
A little underwhelming.
Like after a decade of people loving this game, more than a decade, releasing this other new version of the game, which I still have to buy, by the way. I forgot. You think they'd just wait a bit? They'd want to get more juice out of this announcement than just like a thumbnail?
Yeah, it's like I've got the thumbnail, the image here, and it's like it's an over-the-head shot of obviously the main spaceship, and it's so zoomed out that you can just see a big hole.
It's a crater.
Like what? What's this about?
I mean, maybe that's what they're trying to do is like open up some
insight,
some mystery. Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, like I've never played those games, but I know the sort of legacy of them and know how important they were to a lot of people who enjoyed that type of shooter. And it opened up a lot of elements for different types of RPG games, because obviously you get the choice trees and different things affect how your game goes, and if characters die, they stay dead. So I mean, like I'm excited to see what they do with it, but whether I'll play it or not is a very different question. And I guess one of the last bits of news from my side is that, did you hear this week that the Patty Jenkins led Star Wars movie, which was going to be called Rogue Squadron, Squid Games, Squadron, has apparently been delayed, but is also no longer set to film in 2022 because of conflicts in her schedule, and it might not even be on the schedule anymore. It's the newest. So whether Patty Jenkins has just had a movie cut, who knows? We talked about the Taika Waititi led one last week that I'm excited for anything that Taika Waititi does, but if they're cutting out some directors, I hope they don't cut his.
Yeah, I mean maybe you never know what happens with Disney and these directors.
Maybe they just saw Wonder Woman 1984.
Or it's not Disney, is it? It's Warner Brothers.
That's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
No, Star Wars is though.
Yeah.
Star Wars Disney.
It's like they just are always constantly fucking with the directors. Like, and then they wonder why their movies come out.
Kathleen Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, maybe they did finally get around to watching Wonder Woman 84 and went, whoa, this is Dan and Dave all over again. Yeah. Amazing.
No, I've got some news in the video game front. Not much.
Please.
There's a bunch of stuff that came out. The craziest one is this Lies of P. Have you seen this?
Never heard of it.
There's an announcement for this game called Lies of P, and I'm reading a bit about it now, but it's basically based on the classic Pinocchio fairy tale, but like made by the guys who are like, or either made by the guys who make Dark Souls or like inspired by. I'll show you it later.
It's a Souls-like.
It's combat like so, but it looks really good and creepy and weird, and I'm on board.
Well, like all the original fairy tales were all creeping weird and everyone died.
And then Disney just made them into nice little things.
Yeah, exactly.
But so that one was pretty cool. And then another one in a similar vein was Elden Ring. We got like more gameplay from that. And it looked...
Didn't we get like a 20-minute trailer?
Yeah, I mean, it was all gameplay.
Oh, wow,
we
that's
basically
awesome.
watched like 20 minutes of them playing.
Again, another Souls-like.
It looks like Bloodborne, but like in an open world. In essence. Yeah. It looks cool. I don't know if I'll play it though, man. Those games look a little too grim for me. I need a little more jolly out of my fun. Like
you played The Last of Us.
My fantasy, not my.
Okay.
Not my. Not my. You can't really ask for jolliness out of your post-apocalyptic.
It's funny. It's funny. You just said my fantasy. We're obviously coming up to Christmas, and I saw a YouTube video the day came up that was like a dumb trailer for. Do you remember when we did the Star Wars holiday episode?
Yeah, and that was wild.
Do you remember there's just that one scene when the dude brings over like a headset thing and puts it on the Chewbacca's dad?
Yeah.
And it's just some seductive lady singing a song.
Yeah,
it's like his fantasy.
It was weird. Yeah.
Like, I just thought that was the first thing that came into my mind, and I was like, what is happening?
You're like, why is this in my brain? Oh, I forced myself to watch it.
I made myself do this.
Okay. Any other news? That's all I had, man, was a couple games and Squid Games too. All
right. Well, there's two other bits I'll say super quickly. There's something that we're going to probably talk about a lot next week if we get the opportunity. There is a Disney Plus Day coming up on the 12th of November, so we're expecting big things, to be honest. Like, we've not seen anything for the Marvels TV show. None of the movies that are coming out, really. We've had a very brief teaser for Spider-Man. So there's potential for a trailer for that. There's a lot of potential things we might see. More Hawkeye. I know you're not interested, but I'm
not interested. It's just low on the priority list.
So I guess next week we'll have a lot of interesting news. But before we move on, if you guys have heard anything this week that we haven't talked about that you think's interesting, you think's nerdy enough, we might want to talk about, hit us up.
Yep.
You can find us on Instagram at the Podcast Assemble,
or just email us at thepodcastassemble@gmail.com.
That is it. We are all of those things. Yeah. Now, this week, to segue us into our main topic, did you hear that it is official? The Eternals is the worst rated MCU movie of all of them.
What is the ratings? I know we're gonna get into this.
We're gonna get into this in a minute, but it's been a massive deal, and everyone has been screaming about it. So what we thought we'd do is go and watch it and tell you how we feel about it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
It only came out this weekend.
Yeah,
right?
we did watch it, and I'm finding that interesting that it's officially the worst rated.
It is.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it in a minute, but that's what we're talking about this week. We are talking about the Eternals 2021. But before we get into that, do you want to get into your stupid plot summary?
What if I told you all the history you knew about the world was actually wrong? Natural law? Nope. Science? Fake news. Natural selection? Religions and gods? Maybe. Nope, not really. Still nope. Humanity's true anthropological origins were guided and nurtured ever so carefully by an ancient alien race that conveniently looked exactly like humans themselves and were created themselves by an intergalactic floating totem pole, vestiges of which we can trace back to Easter Island statues found in the modern day.
Wow.
It's all there, Tommy. Aliens seeding humanity millennia ago. So I ask you, YouTube conspiracy theory video or Marvel's Eternals plot?
Oof.
Which is it?
Oh, that's an awesome question.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with both.
I mean, that's my dumb summary.
Definitely both.
And there's so much going on in this movie, and there's so much going on in that summary. So
there's a lot. I love it. That's a good summary.
Thanks, mate.
Mine is a lot simpler than yours. I appreciate all the effort that went into that. To be perfectly honest, mine's not that much effort. It's just angry Superman and the sad Justice League battle to save humanity from a potential world-ending event, and somehow still manage a lower kill count than Man of Steel.
Was there nobody dead?
Well, I mean, not really.
Who died in Man of Steel? I don't even remember.
The whole city.
True.
Don't you remember?
Yeah, true.
The whole city just got annihilated.
Yeah.
There was like one little fight scene in a town. Look, before we get into it, we actually did a podcast on the Assembles. On the Eternals in the comics quite a while ago now. So have a listen to that one. Listen to what they're actually supposed to be like.
Listen to two people that have never read the comics about the Eternals.
Not about
tell
the Eternals.
You about the Eternals
exactly.
In the comic books.
Look, this movie, as Dre intimated, it essentially brings us this new team, but they've got immense power, right? and they're sent to Earth to guide humanity and protect them against the deviants. But there may be nefarious schemes in motion. I love doing this. I love doing like weird
schemes.
So, before we get into it then, tell me what you think the IMDb score is for this.
You already like told me that it's bad.
Well, no, that's the Rotten Tomato score that's all based on.
Are we thinking that IMDb... I think this might be a scenario where IMDb might be better.
Sure. What do you reckon it is?
I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes is, but if it's the worst rated Marvel movie, it's got to be low.
This is based on what I looked up yesterday.
Okay. I would say IMDb is 6.1.
6.9.
Oh.
So that's actually not terrible. Like
No, there's plenty of bad, like good movies that are worse than that and bad movies that are better, I've heard. But
the interesting thing about this is that though this is low, it's still not like the worst score you could have. All right, quickly before that, Metacritic, what do you reckon?
6.4.
Percent. Sorry, it's a percent Metacritic.
Metacritic, 64.
It's actually 48.
Yeah, it could have gone worse, but
okay. Rotten Tomatoes. What do you think?
This must be
the
like
worst rated.
This must be like fucking 42 or something. It's got to be real bad because there's bad Marvel movies.
It's 53.
Oh,
which isn't even that low.
No,
like it's not Fresh. Obviously, Fresh is what 60%.
It's got to be above 69 or something.
60%, I think.
69.
So it's the golden number. Look, it's directed by Chloe Zhao. We knew this. We've talked about this before, but it's got this stellar cast. Gemma Chan, Richard Madden, Angelina Jolie, Salma Hayek, Kit Harington is apparently in there. Kamal Nanjiani, Liam McHugh. Oh my God, so many. Brian Tyree Henry, and this is just the main frigging cast.
Thank God.
Lauren Ridloff, Barry McKeough, Don Lee. Like, how do you get all these people into a movie and make it work coherently?
Well, you don't.
Yeah, well, that's
yeah, that's the thing. But like, what I will say is, thank God they have this cast because this movie would have been terrible without it.
It really needed this cast to make it work.
They literally are the movie.
But before we get into that, I keep saying this to you. I just thought we should drop into our favorite segment, which is the world famous
IMDb.
goofiest IMDb pictures.
Yeah.
So I've got two contenders for you this week. Two contenders and the gladiators. We have, first and foremost, we have Harish Patel. This is his leading IMDb pick. Can you explain that to the listeners?
Is he like a pharmacist?
I don't know what's happening in that picture.
It seems like a scene from a movie.
I think he's in he's got like packets of cigarettes behind him, so I think maybe he's like a store owner.
Yeah, it looks like he's basically cut a scene from one of his shows and said, yeah, that's odd.
That'll do.
That's odd.
It's a weird one. It's pretty goofy.
Yeah.
Let's be perfectly honest. And my second one is actually one of the key acts in this. This is Gilgamesh's character. This is Don Lee. This is just
I like that he just doesn't give a fuck.
He just doesn't care. So Don Lee is actually in Train to Busan.
But he's in other things.
He's a Korean actor.
Somebody should have told him.
This is just a picture of him sort of just giving a really groovy thumbs up to the camera.
Yeah, seriously.
So which do you reckon's the goofiest IMDb pick?
I would say his.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Because he's like actually a good actor. Like, you shouldn't be doing that.
He's a really good actor.
Yeah.
So super quickly then, against our previous winner. So we had our VIP unseated last week. He's been retired. We now have a new goofiest IMDb pick champion, which is Tim Cook. So is Don Lee's goofy IMDb picture less or more goofy than show favorite Tim Cook?
No, Tim Cook still wins.
Tim Cook wins.
Tim Cook still wins. That's absurd.
His rodeo clown outfit is
his
great.
His rodeo gas station clown outfit.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle. All right, great. So, what do you think of the movie? What do you think? What do you think of it?
Look, I think I remember when we got out, I tried to like put it into words. I think it's like it tried to do a lot.
Yes.
And I don't think it succeeded like fully. It didn't like fully execute many things.
Okay.
And
tried to have too many traits.
I just tried to do too. It's like the movie equivalent of like literally boiling the ocean. Like they tried to boil the ocean, and
for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and it didn't work. But that being said, like I would say if I was gonna summarize, this movie's a miss.
Okay.
But it's a miss in like a unique and like way. Like the things they were trying to do were not formulaic.
Mm-hmm.
So I was interested just because
as formulaic.
as formulaic. Like I guess the CGI and stuff was, and like we'll get to that. But I guess like the themes and the plots and not really the themes and the characters were, or it's not really the plot. The themes and the characters were very much.
Your mind.
Sorry, were very much unique in like what they were trying to do. They were very ambitious, but it just fell short of that ambition.
Ambitious is the word that I'd go for this.
Yeah.
Like
it didn't quite reach its like ambitions. You know,
you were ambitious. I use the word a little convoluted. Yeah. I think it is that it's very ambitious, but doesn't quite hit the mark on all of them. But even that said, like I came out of this movie genuinely had really enjoyed it. So it's funny that like there was 4 of us in the theater. Dre was sat with one of our buddies on one side, and I was sat with another one. And it seemed that your side came out like, and my side came out like, I actually really enjoyed that. We both agreed it was great.
Didn't enjoy it. There was just like long periods where I didn't enjoy it.
Sure.
Like overall, I would say I'm glad I saw it because I like am invested in this like world they've created, and there's a lot of actors in it that I like. But like, do I think that like it was a really well executed piece of filmmaking? No. Was I bored during large swaths of it? Yes.
Right. Okay. Look, I mean, I'm a bit the opposite of that. So like, I get their problems with it, right? There are clear things, and we'll talk about that as we're going through. But it actually filled a gap for me that I'd kind of missed with movies recently. So like, I feel like all the Marvel movies we've had since the end of like lockdown, right? Your Black Widows, your Shang-Chi's, they've all sat within that very simple Marvel mold where they have the same type of humor. They each have their subtle differences, but they are just the formula. Whereas this, I at least think it took some big swings.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It kind of went, you know what? Like it tried to have some of those indie sort of like feels to it. The cinematography was unbelievable. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I was like, you know what? It was serious enough that it ticked a box in that sense, but it didn't go like Man of Steel serious. You know what I mean? Like it was in the middle.
What I'll say to you about that is like I agree that it was refreshing that it took big swings.
Sure.
I just didn't connect on many.
All right. Well,
that's my.
Let me ask one question then, just before we move on to the performances. My personal opinion is that this right here is kind of the problem Marvel are going to have moving forward. So what everybody wants is everyone wants different movies. They want something different. They want them to try new things. But when they do try different things, people are going to shit on it because it's not the formula. I feel like they're going to struggle with a lot of the new movies coming out because of this sort of expectation they're all under.
Maybe that's the case, but I don't think like the reason this movie didn't execute was because it wasn't the formula. I thought it was because like they were obviously like overly ambitious.
Sure.
And there were obvious holes in like fleshing out like the things that make movies good. Like this missed some parts, and it's not because it wasn't like the standard Marvel formula. It's because they tried to do too much, and they created a villain that was like fucking one-dimensional.
We'll talk about villains in a bit.
But like my point is like that's I think it actually missed the mark not because it was trying to do something different, but because it tried to mix that different with like just standard formulaic like superhero stuff.
So you think they just tried to cram everything in there?
I think I don't think it was coherent.
Okay, all right. Well, all right. Let's before we get into more details, then let's talk about the performances. What did you think of like the actors? You said before, and I completely agree with this in many respects that I think without some of these huge actors, this movie would have been real
dreadful,
bad.
I think
real bad.
It would have been dreadful. Yeah, I think so. The performances are really good. Like I really liked Kit Harington. I thought it could have used more of him. Yeah,
that's the first thing I said when it came out. This movie should have had more Kit Harington. He was great.
The jury was still out on if he was like a good actor to me. Yeah, he was like a perfectly cast Jon Snow.
But I still think it's out even with this.
I'm not saying that this is like the definitive thing, but I guess my point was like he played a uniquely awkward dude.
Yeah, okay.
That a good-looking guy like him, I didn't think he would have that in him. You know, like, would you believe?
I think he is that awkward in real life.
Maybe that's probably what it is. Yeah. Like, maybe he's just like, I'm going to be myself. But, like, he was, like, a charming but awkward dude.
Sure.
And I really liked his humor in it.
I think overall, like, we had great actors in this, right? Overall, I think they were all very good. I think there's a definite problem with the writing around, which doesn't help the performances, which is, like, these beings have been on Earth, like you mentioned, for, like, thousands of years. but they're all completely baffled by everything that's happening around them.
The plot was what was fucked about this movie.
It was like, how are you confused? You've seen all this.
Yeah,
you know what's happening.
Yeah, without getting, and we can't talk too much about that, but I think the lore really dragged this movie down.
Sure, a little bit. Yeah. And one thing that we'll touch on this in, actually no, pacing. I was going to touch on pacing next, but I'll touch on it now because it fits into what we're talking about. I think this attempted that sort of Tarantino-esque non-linear narrative, and it didn't help. I think if it was just a linear movie whereby they showed you the Eternals coming to Earth, they showed you their progression, and then they kicked off the story, I think it would have made a whole different movie. I think it would have been fine. Like you would have been able to see there's a bunch of that.
As opposed to like going back in time a lot.
Yeah, because it just kept flicking to the past.
It did just feel like random as well. Like when they did do that, it's not like it was like you were getting a deep dive on something that was just happening and getting the context behind it. Exactly. It was just like randomly we're back in time.
This was happening at this point.
Has
and
no
then
bearing on the interpersonal relationship that you were just watching?
Exactly.
No. Like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that took me out of it a lot. But one thing I did want to call out is you said you really liked Jon Snow. I really did not like Richard Madden in this.
Really?
Like, I thought he was so wooden. Like, he's got one like mode and he just sticks to it.
That's what he's supposed to be, though. That's what his character is. It's the commander. It's we do the mission.
Even when he was like, it's all in the trailer, so it doesn't really matter. But even when he was with Cersei and he was like falling in love with her, like it was this one-dimensional creature. I was like, I can't connect with this on any level.
I don't think you're meant to.
Okay,
but let's talk about it later.
Yeah, fair enough. I just think, but I think that sort of rolled over. So like the trailers are all talking about how that Cersei and his Icarus character. We didn't say the names of the characters again, as usual.
Sorry.
Richard Madden and Gemma Chan's characters, it's this decades-long love story. But I thought in the 5 minutes we saw her with Kit Harington, she had infinitely more like chemistry than she did at any point with Richard Madden on set.
I just don't think that they gave this stuff enough time to really like. They didn't give enough interpersonal moments or time to allow for you to really feel anything beyond like what you felt.
Ironically, they didn't give enough time to a movie that was really long.
Yeah, no. Well, I guess that's what happens when you have 13 main characters.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's my point. Like they tried to do too much.
What did you think? Well, performances then. What I wanted to do is I wanted to like condense
the cast.
Super quickly. I wanted to condense their powers to sort of give everyone sort of an overview of what they could do in this. Mate. But all right, let me go through them super quickly. So Cersei, Gemma Chan, she can manipulate
like the core elements of the Earth.
Richard Madden, Icarus, Superman.
Angelina Jolie, badass.
She's war. Salma Hayek, Ajak is healing. Kit Harington is not in one of the Eternals. Kamal Nanjiani's Kingo has
from his
energy finger guns.
Yeah, like Kamehameha, but like with your fingers.
Liam McHugh's Sprite is Illusions.
Yeah.
Brian Tyree Henry Fastos is an inventor. Lauren Ridloff's Makari is a speedster. Baron Keogh's Druig, mind control. Don Lee's Gilgamesh is a tank. Right.
So are you bored yet?
I was so like I was
There's
writing
too much.
Down and I was
it's
like
too much.
Too many characters. Okay, right. So let's not dive into that too far. Then you tell me quickly what you thought of the pacing. I've given you my thoughts.
No, it's the pacing was like the worst part of the movie.
Sure. Okay. Well, talk to me about music then.
If you want me to like elaborate, it's gonna double on some of the things you said. But I think that it was like I'll give you another part where it was like just random lore dumps.
There's so much of that.
There was like just random lore dumps that I was like, okay, so what? We're just like now it's like Marvel always had like a pseudo science to it, right? Like it was sci-fi, right? Like
yeah.
Tony Stark is inventing new technology and it's like nanotech and it's like crazy, or it's Thor and it's almost like this is like godly alien, like this is stretching the imagination. Well, it's now like, we're just rewriting human history.
Well, in Thor, they would always say what we see as magic is just their science, and that's how they kind of hand-waved it away. Whereas this is just like, just the whole human history.
All of anthropology is not what you thought.
Yes. All right. Well, talk to me quickly then about the cinematography because massive part of this movie.
I mean, like really cool sprawling shots without a lot of meaning behind them, though.
Yeah.
I whenever there was cool shots, it was like, well, why are we seeing this scene? I don't even understand why we're in Mesopotamia right now. Like, what is going on?
Well, I kind of agree, but I feel like I can't talk about the cinematography without talking about the CGI as well. So I think the cinematography was beautiful. Like, you can tell Chloe Zhao has a very distinct style and gets real deep into her like wide shots. She'd do Skyfall really well.
Yeah.
But I felt it was a bit at odds with the CGI at times. So like you'd have the deviants, the sort of in quotation marks bad guys of the piece running in and doing all this stuff, and I was like, this is almost like Transformers.
Why? I guess like
the movie when
the question. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, like I'm just thinking about that first Transformers movie. You know, when you get a beautiful beach shot and it's all dark and the sun setting, and then one of the Transformers runs onto the beach, and all this weird stuff happens, and I'm like, I'm getting flashbacks. Is it going to be like this? Is it going to be all hectic and a lot of things? Like they're at odds with each other.
I guess like why do you hire Chloe Zhao to make a movie if you're just going to jam the standard Marvel like stuff down her throat?
I'd be interested to know how much of it she actually did have jammed down her throat.
Like because like the movie she made, and maybe that's the point. They're like she can make a new version of that, but like they're not like they're character films.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've given her far too many characters to fit in a bunch of CGI scenes and also have a character movie. So like, I think they were just like diversity. She can do that. Now throw on the CGI and let's run with it.
I did like the diversity in this movie. I thought it was
not
great.
hating on it, but I think that's what the exec did.
No, I understand. I understand.
Yeah, I just feel like her vision was not able to overcome the fact that this was an MCU movie. Whereas it should be an MCU movie that fits into the lore, but it should be her movie.
Should be her movie that fits into the MCU.
Like it shouldn't be like we have an MCU framework. You have to have this many CGI scenes. It should have been different, I think.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm completely with you on that. And I think that's where they obviously get the big wins when you get like the Russo brothers who do a Civil War and it's their vision, but just fits the MCU like timeline.
Yeah.
So they're allowed to do their own thing. And I wonder if we'll ever find out exactly how much she was allowed to do, because I watched a really interesting thing fairly recently about how Marvel movies are made. I think you can probably find on YouTube.
Yeah.
But the majority of the films, like the majority, is already mapped out before the director even has an opportunity to start thinking about their vision. So like all of the big set pieces, all of the shots, most of it is just like, this is how it's going to go. I watched a thing and it was on, I think it was on Endgame, and it was literally, you could see that they planned the whole thing in CGI. It was like, this is what it's going to be. This is how the battle is going to go, etc. So I wonder how much influence she really had.
I guess like it's fine if you have it planned out that at the end this is going to happen.
Yep.
The middle this is going to happen, and these are the 3 battle scenes, and they're around this setting. As long as she can create a coherent, plot-driven and character-driven story to fit into those 3 guideposts, great. But it didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Felt like the lore and the writing really dropped the ball on this.
Sure. All right.
So, yeah.
Talking about action then before we move on to tones and themes. Did you like the action? What was your
I loved when they were fighting each other.
Sure.
That was the best part. The rest of it was like, what are these weird like rainbow dogs? Why are the rainbow dogs like
what are the
rainbow wolf dogs attacking everyone?
Yeah, I'm kind of agree with you on that. My issue with it is, and going back to the point, I genuinely really did enjoy this movie. There wasn't really a barometer for how powerful they were at any point. Like,
well, that part always sucked. Yeah,
you didn't ever see them fight someone who you could understand their power levels. Like in all of the other movies, like you get that Captain America is just a roided up jock who can use his shield really well. And when Vision could easily take him out, you're like, Vision must be pretty hard.
No hierarchy.
There's not. And like they're talking about how like Icarus is the most powerful one. You've not shown me that. Like I don't get that. I'm going to come back to that at the end because that's a kind of a key point. And I'm like, I don't get it. Like, and then you put them up against these deviants. How strong are they? What do they do? Like, they don't have powers. They're just animals.
The whole lore behind the Eternals and why they exist.
Yeah.
And why they have those powers, and the deviants and why they exist and what their powers are was like so bare, like 2 inches deep and 20 million miles wide.
And you don't find out till the end of the movie.
And even when you find out, it's not enough. It doesn't make sense to what they're trying to do theme-wise and plot-wise. And I'll talk about that in spoilers.
We'll get to spoilers and talk about that. All right, finally then, tones and themes. Let's talk about that. What did you think?
I thought that this is the one thing where I thought that like there were strong tones and themes.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought that this is where, and that's where I was like, that was Chloe. But like they didn't let her take that.
Chloe, your best mate.
Yeah, Chloe.
It's my girl, Chloe.
CeeLo. They didn't let her take that and like run
extra
with it.
step. Yeah. Okay.
So I would say a strong theme is like, for most of us, like lack of diversity like inhibits success.
Okay.
And diverse opinions and perspectives like are what power progress.
You should work in a big tech company.
It's like literally a tagline, isn't it? And then like I think another one is like, a big theme towards the end based off some of the twists and what happened is like for us to move forward in the world and in life and in general, you can't just cancel everyone. Like literally, I think that was a strong theme. Like no one's perfect, and you have to have you have to be able to forgive through understanding. Okay. Like if you can't put yourself in someone else's shoes and have forgiveness through understanding, like the world is going to collapse, kind of thing. Like not collapse, but like, we're not going to make progress.
Sure.
But that was another theme. And yeah, the world is made beautiful by like the sum and shape of its parts.
I agree with all of them. I just would add to that by saying the issues that come about by following orders blindly. I think that's a massive theme in this. And again, kind of harkening back to last week a little bit, but like, what happens when you finally achieve your purpose? Like, if you've been solely told to do one thing your whole life, what happens when that ends? I think, and there's a lot of that in sort of like, people coming back from fighting wars and those types of events, and it's how do you adjust? How do you become a real human being again out of that? So
yeah, I agree. It's a good one.
I find that really interesting.
And then there was obviously like themes about like just like
there were a lot of fucking themes in this movie.
Well, just like misogyny and like getting and rising above it, but in a I thought that there was like a lot of like, let's be inclusive in when we address issues, we're inclusive in how we do it. We're not blaming.
Yes.
Like, it was like, let's bring people together. Like unity is better, diversity is better.
I'm down for
there was a lot of strong themes around that.
Hit me with your 3 best and 3 worst.
Cast best.
Good.
It's thematic ambitions. And there is a
way to sneak that in there.
There is a twist that is, I thought, quite good.
Okay. So, sorry. Okay. The twist. Yeah. Okay. So you thought some parts of the plot worked for you?
A lot of the plot didn't work for me. The part that I did like, that did work for me, is the twist that we'll talk about soon. And I really think that if they had distilled this movie down from like 13 main characters to 7, and focused more on those characters' interactions with each other and given us the arc that I think one character got, for more people, it'd be a pretty sound movie.
All right, so we kind of talked about these already, but I called out the cinematography again.
Yeah,
like I think it was really amazing. Like I said, it just scratched an itch, something that I've just not had for a while.
It was like a serious Marvel movie is what you're like looking for, like a dramatic Marvel movie.
Like something with a bit of drama that actually felt, not weighty is the wrong word, but like I could feel feel something that's happening in it. Whereas like you're watching a Black Widow or whatever, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Finally, I just had that this, in my humble opinion, is the best or most interesting Superman depiction in movies since Christopher Reeve that doesn't have Superman in it. It's definitely the most interesting.
Yeah. I mean, like
Icarus is basically Superman for
100%.
anyone who didn't know.
It was like he was like actually. That's why you're like he was my like one of my least favorite. Like I thought he was pretty well developed and thought out. And like I thought everything was purposeful with him.
DC Comics are also in Marvel now because they called out
talked about
both Superman and Batman in this movie. Yeah. All right, 3 worst.
The plot, like in general, I gave you the twist. The twist is good, but in general, like. The most of the plot, large swaths of this film are just straight up boring.
Could we agree on that? I've got on mine. I've got the non-linear narrative. So I think the plot could have been good if it was allowed to play out how it was supposed to.
I think that it would have helped. I still think that the lore.
Okay. Sorry.
Like I know you're right. Like I agree that would have helped. I think that leaving some stuff up to mystery that we discover as we watch instead of just detailing it for us. Is another problem. And then I just think the lore, they should have made changes to the comics to make it a little bit more they
changed a lot from the comics.
Well, I guess like what they changed, there's things that I just thought didn't make sense and were not depthful. So
we'll talk about that in a
plot
minute.
and lore, I think, were 2 of my worst.
Okay.
And then literally like 2 character arcs were built out.
Yeah, out of the 12 characters.
So like you just had all these half-dangled, half-developed plot lines or character arcs that I didn't like that.
All right. For me, I went with the Deviants. I they were completely pointless in this movie almost.
They fucking sucked.
And we'll talk about that in just a second. And they just looked bad.
They just like were not good.
They were not
There's
good.
There's nothing
CGI.
about them that was like positive.
Nothing like the comics either. Not that the comics are good, but like it just doesn't not good. And like I said, the non-linear narrative, I don't think it helped. And finally, some of the character motivations, I was like, like what? And it comes back to a little bit your point around not being able to build out the characters much. So, for example, Cersei just abandons the guy she's apparently in love with at the first 5 minutes of the movie and fucks off. And I'm like, hang on a minute, what? Huh? Anyway,
I mean, like you're kind of partly supposed to be like, huh? Because it's like, okay, they're gonna explain why this is so important, right? But then there's like 3 hours of intros, and you just forget.
I forgot.
Like she doesn't get
that.
She doesn't get the time due to him, and that she
doesn't
deserves.
come back around. Yeah. Okay, then tell me then, is this better or worse than Aquaman 2018? Now, this, for anyone who's new to the show,
actually going to be a hard choice.
Is our rating system. So what we did was a long time ago, we decided we would pick what we think is the most bang average movie. We don't give a rating out of 10. We don't say whether it's 5-star, whatever it might be.
No thumbs up, no thumbs down.
Nope. We just picked what we thought was the most middling movie, and we say, is this better or worse than that? Because otherwise the internet is too polarizing.
Yeah, you know what? This is a hard one.
I think so too.
I think that I think I'm going to surprise you and say I think it's better.
I don't think I'm surprised by that. I thought you'd say that.
Really?
I think it's heady enough for you. I think it's got some...
I think it just tries to do more.
Okay.
But like...
Did we say Black Widow is better or worse than... I can't remember.
I don't remember.
We should go
we
back
definitely
and
did say.
We probably said something.
Yeah.
I think it's better, personally. But this is a contender to be that slot. Like, it is very middling. And you can see that by the scores and the audience response a little bit.
I think that like I give it credit for trying, and that like nudges it just above the line.
Sure.
Of above Aquaman.
Okay.
Paper thin.
All right. Paper thin. Oh, we're back to the paper, are we? Oh my god.
Paper thin.
All right. Spoilers then. Spoilers from now on.
Yeah.
So the big spoiler of this movie is really that we are seeing characters from Westworld. That's exactly what's happening here. They're not actually these divine beings, the Eternals, from the planet Olympia, whatever they're supposed to be from. They're actually kind of robots created by a celestial named Erisham, and basically they were sent to get control of the deviants, which the deviants were their original forms. They just evolved, and these are just non-evolving sort of robot things to essentially make sure that humans get to a certain number so that the world egg can crack.
Yes. So
the extra twist, to give it even more, is that the world is an egg for a celestial.
Hollow Earth theory.
Yeah. And all it is we are heating up the world to a point whereby the celestial is ready to crack out.
The big twist is that like the thing that they're protecting,
slamming you in the face with plot twists, like,
and not even just like alternate histories.
Yeah,
like, it's too much. But the big thing is like the intelligent life is needed to create a celestial, and
correct.
So originally like the deviants were made to go kill all the predators to allow to intelligent life to kind of be blossom, which by the way is just like predators can be intelligent life too. So like this is just like there's too much pseudo fake science in this lore. That's what I was trying to get at. Like I never bought in because it was too rudimentary, like so many logical leaps and plot holes in the lore itself, and then like also just didn't align to the themes. So yeah, I think that part wasn't great.
Well, it's interesting because like there was like all these twists. So there was like the big plot twist, and then there was like mini character twists as well. So like you just get this big exposition dump around the fact that the world's going to explode and everyone's going to die, and then the celestial's going to burst out, and etc. And then you find out that there are character plot twists as well. So like you find out that Icarus actually is trying to help this along. So all the other Eternals essentially are trying to stop it at this point. They're like, oh, we love humanity. And he's actively trying to stop them by helping them get back together. Like, I'm not sure, that's a bit of a weird point of the plot that I didn't quite get, but
yeah, because it wasn't fully fleshed out. Like, it was a bit of a hole. Like, why wouldn't he just not do anything?
Really strange.
Why wouldn't he just continue to not do anything?
Essentially, he's pro-celestial is what we're trying to say. So he's pro-celestial. The rest of the Eternals, except for a couple, are pro-Earth. They then have to try and defeat the strongest Eternal, right?
Yeah, so you're right. The whole point of them being there was to basically buy time after they killed out all the deviants, which was their original mission through all these centuries of time being here. They were all dead. Now they've gone and lived their own lives, and their intelligent life is growing. They're reaching this point where it's going to erupt as celestial because that's how they're born. Celestials are necessary for the universal life cycle because they're going to go create a whole new universe, which is going to go create tons of billions of other life. And so that's the natural cycle, right? But because they are able to spend, a millennia or whatever you want to call it with humans, a lot of them start to like kind of identify with humans, and their leader decides to find, she's done this many, many times to many, many universes, decides finally humans, because of the Thanos snap and how they recovered, who is Ajax, that this cycle needs to end, and they're different, and they shouldn't be treated this way.
And the other big plot twist in this is that they've done this millions of times before, so they think
that's what I was saying.
They think they've only been alive for like 7,000 years, whatever it is, but their consciousnesses are constantly being taken back by the Celestials and placed on new worlds to do this same cycle again, and it's just a lot. It's a lot of things.
It is.
And then while this is all happening, you've got a Celestial kind of bursting out of the
this little hand.
You've got this like hand
out of the ocean, Midas's hand.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It was a cool set piece, to be honest, but it was just so absurd. Like, to top all this stuff off, I saw that, I just had to laugh.
Yeah, I was
just like, I couldn't not laugh.
Hit by all of this stuff, and then you still got to try and save the world. I'm like, I don't know how to take all this in.
Yeah, so like, I guess if I was going to summarize my problems with it, right? The Eternals backstory and lore is the biggest thing. A lot of it is just like gibberish and plot holes and logical gymnastics.
Yes.
Like, if you're an all-powerful being, just kill the predators yourself. Just make the intelligent life yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, that's what he ended up doing.
Yeah. So
you could just have a planet of Eternals.
And like, why do Eternals look exactly like humans? Is it just like big fat coincidence? Yeah,
and the bloody like deviants didn't. That doesn't make sense.
And the deviants just look like really weird rainbow animals. Like the one thing, and now that we're talking about the twist that Icarus himself has always known that this was the case, right?
Yes.
That they were building to this alongside the leader.
Yeah.
And for the whole movie, alongside Ajax, for the whole movie, you're under the impression that he has learned this too, and is struggling with what's going on, and it wasn't chosen to be the next leader, so he's just following orders, when really he's silently trying to pull the strings to make this happen.
Yeah.
The twist that he actually killed Ajax is a part of that, because he was so committed to his mission and conflicted with her decision not to
change the mission,
her decision to change the mission.
Yep.
I didn't see it coming.
I didn't see it coming either, but I also feel like it's not well set up.
I thought it was.
Well, no, the setup.
Upon thinking about it after, so I'll tell you why after a second. Go ahead. Yeah.
My problem with it is that why would he help them get the team back together? If the team together is the only way they can stop the egg bursting, why help them? Just act like you're not interested, or just go and do something else, or don't help them in the first place. Take them to wrong places.
So I don't think that is a reason to like criticize his character arc as much as the plot, by the way. But I will say that you're right. But I think the thing that they kind of fucked up, that they didn't give enough time to, was that the deviants they weren't all dead, and he needed them to help kill them all to stop something bad from happening. But it didn't really seem like he needed them, because there was only like 6 of them, and like, what are they going to eliminate all the intelligent life? Like, that there were plot holes.
He could have picked them off one by one so easily.
Like, that's my point. There were plot holes to that, but like his arc of being this overly confident but never was the actual leader committed to the cause, and struggling with the concept of like breaking away from the cause was a well-developed arc for him, I think.
Yeah.
Like, in all the flashbacks, and then also was like aligned to the theme of like, I think part of this movie, which is we can't just let like the white male who's cookie cutter, clean cut, dominate the conversation. Absolutely. And always listen. Like, women need to speak up. Women leaders need to like speak up and also understand that this is the way it was. But
says the 2 white males.
Well, that's my point. Like,
I know, I'm kidding.
The theme is like diversity, right? Like, and that character arc aligned to that theme in a way that like I think most people in an everyday workplace could understand and identify with. So I thought that whole part was well done.
I think so too. They could have handled it very differently though. I I don't know. I wasn't quite sold on it. But let's talk about one thing that I did like in this. So throughout the whole movie, there is this concept of mad weary, which is essentially what we're told when Eternals start to break down after thousands of years. And then they start to lose their mind. Yeah. And we have this through Angelina Jolie's character, Athena. And what it actually is she is... It's Westworld again. Yeah. She's remembering...
It's Westworld again.
Yeah, she's remembering her past lives where she's done this before. Yeah. And it's a really interesting concept because one of the Eternals has to literally, like, control her for most of the movie. And she's like this great warrior and stuff. And
this is really deadly when she goes crazy. She tries to kill everyone.
She tries to kill all the Eternals, tries to kill everyone. And I really like that idea. That could have been something that should have been a bigger part of the movie.
So the concept is great.
Yeah.
Execution in the moment was great. Yeah. Should have been used more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like I thought about that and I was like, Mad Weary was such a cool concept that I think it was underutilized in like revealing lore and plot points.
Sure.
Like, can you imagine if this was more of a mystery?
Oh,
and like,
time.
And you also use their powers to uncover it. Like, so she's having this thing, like they're like trying to figure it out. They use it develops the other characters. They uses that one guy who can control minds to calm her. The other girl together with him can like display to everyone what she's seeing. And it's like flashbacks to like other worlds that have been destroyed.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's happening here? And it's like a mystery that's driving them together in the story as opposed to just this thing that's kind of a side piece because we have to like do all this other things with like 14 other characters.
What if that's what you're saying there is like that was the hub of the plot whereby they were like, instead of just Ajax dying, they were stopping believing in their leader because she was losing her mind. So imagine not Athena necessarily, but like the leader of them was losing their mind. So they had to choose a different leader, but they had to decide whether they were going with this leader's old orders or they were moving on. That would be so much
Faulkner
easier.
wrote like the only thing worth writing about is the human heart in conflict with itself.
Sure.
And that is the crux. Like that kind of conflict that you just described is the crux of like the human heart in conflict with my friends. Like who am I aligned to? Like, do I align to even the humans? Instead of like this one-dimensional rainbow dog. So like, well, I think that would have been such a good, solid change for this plot.
I find it very interesting that the deviants were essentially like subterfuge. They were just trying to take you away from what the actual
fact
threat
that Richard
was.
Madden was.
Exactly.
No, 100%.
I actually quite like that twist.
I like that concept.
I don't think it worked well.
Yeah, but they didn't do it. They gave him way too much time if that's all they were.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, low-key, my favorite character in this was Druig, by the way. I thought he was so good.
He was good at his acting was really good.
Just like this deadpan Irish guy who hated everyone.
Yeah, his acting was really good.
Yeah. All right, one more plot hole before we move on to a couple of other bits then. It's made very clear at the beginning of the movie, Cersei can only manipulate matter that isn't living matter.
Yeah.
Halfway through the movie, she somehow does. And it's like a case of the end of the movie comes around and it's that classic thing from movies whereby she can do it because she believes in herself. It's like, you found out you could do this 5 minutes ago. Like, no. So she ends up taking out the Eternal, which is cracking through the earth. By turning him to stone. Sorry, the Celestial. By turning him to stone. Because she believes in herself. She couldn't do this 5 minutes ago. What?
Well, there's more to it. Like everyone powers her up.
I know they did the Unimind and all this
which
stuff.
Was fucking such a dumb name.
It's from the comics. And we talked about it previously. But I was like... And I get it. It gave her more power. But like it didn't work for me. That sort of like...
No, I totally... It's very cookie cutter.
Yeah. It was a little bit. What did you think of that?
I kind of agreed with you. I thought the whole ending sequence was a bit cheesy and
sure.
And I did like the fight. I did like when Richard Madden and the other guys were fighting each other, and then the theme of like, I've been waiting to clip your wings. Like I talked to you about that already off the podcast, but it was kind of like again like a black man taking power and like being like what you're doing is wrong. Like no.
I thought there was, well, speaking of, I think there were some big deaths in this. I didn't see coming.
We didn't even talk about the deaths. A lot of
we
the
can talk about that
die.
now.
Yeah.
So there's 3 of the Eternals who die. There's Ajax.
Basically, they graduate them. They're like, there's way too many actors. Who of the Eternals do we want to actually be in? Who can we get out of it? Yeah. The B team, eliminate them.
Well, they got rid of Ajax. Yeah. So she was the Salma Hayek character. They got rid of Gilgamesh. I was devastated.
I was bummed about Salma Hayek and Gilgamesh. Salma Hayek is a babe. I don't care how old she is.
She's fantastic. Yeah. I remember her from Dogma. Great movie. Yeah. Donnelly, obviously, as I said. Icarus, man. That final scene was just so on the nose. Like Icarus flying too close to the sun. He kills himself by flying into the sun.
Did he actually do that?
Yeah, that was how he killed himself.
I didn't put that together.
Come on.
I thought he was flying to the Celestials to go talk to them.
He flew into the sun at the end to kill himself. Yeah.
Yeah,
essentially.
Dumb.
Bad.
Yeah.
Bad. But yeah, I mean, and there was also the fact that they just killed this sentient deviant as well. So Angelina Jolie's character, just chopped his head off.
No relevance to the story.
It was like he was helping them. He was literally helping them. And she was like, "No, all right, let's just chop this guy's head off."
He was about to kill her, to be fair.
Yeah, actually, fair he was. But he was.
I take your point, man. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that it just feels like there was an there was like an outline for a movie that was going to be like Chloe's, and then they like halfway through were like, no, and she's just like, well, I can't quit now.
Let's refine this.
Yeah.
3 questions for you before we talk quickly about the post-credit scenes.
Yeah.
First and foremost, how do you fit these characters into the rest of the MCU? Like,
well, which ones are left?
Do you do a Guardians of the Galaxy whereby they're completely separate and then you bring them in for like the big showdowns? Do you try and integrate some of them? So like obviously you've got I keep calling him Jon Snow, Dane Whitman's character, who's gonna be kind of humanish.
He's gonna be.
Do you have them sort of like coming into those types of movies? How does it work?
No, I think that's a good question. I think you're right. I think like Jon Snow is gonna be involved in some other show and other stuff.
We'll never get his name.
Whatever, Kit Harington. He'll be involved in some other stuff. Dane Whitman or whatever his name is.
Dane Whitman, yeah.
Yeah. He'll be involved in like other movies. And then like the Eternals, I think, will be self-contained.
I think they're going to have to be.
For a bit.
They're going to have to be.
And then they will, though, I think random ones like the Sprite, who's going to go live a life. Like she'll probably be involved in random. I thought she was quite good, actually.
I thought she was
as an actress.
But that whole, you can now be a human thing, I was like,
really? I thought that was fair. That was kind of
just because she's clearly just going to grow up.
Yeah, well, you can understand why.
Yeah,
but I just thought that it was a fair point, though. Like, you would be pretty pissed if you had to spend a millennia being a pre-tweet, like a tweenie.
Yeah,
like, all right. Not even quite kid, not even quite, adult.
She's not even in preteen. She's like, so harsh for the poor girl.
It's like Andy Milonakis.
Did Thanos' plan technically save humanity? So think about it. They're trying to get enough humans on Earth so that it warms the Earth up and there's enough. Yeah, his snap technically saved them. The Avengers are the bad guys.
Well, I mean, you'd assume that, like, I guess if you're assuming that, like, that extra 5 years or whatever it was is really what, like, the Eternals needed to really be convinced that humanity needed to be saved after millennia. But,
no, what I mean is, like, when he snapped away half of life,
no,
he was helping us.
Technically did.
Not foster this egg.
But I mean, intentions matter, right?
Yeah, but still. Last question before we talk about the post-credit scenes quickly. Does the Earth just have, like, a celestial head and kind of hands sticking out of it?
Totally, man.
Is that what it looks like now?
So what I was going to say is, like, how about the fact that, like, there's this one breakout scene where it's just like somebody watching TV. I forget. It's like a normal character, like watching what's happened, or like it's like one of the scientist's like husband, and then they're watching TV and it's showing all the stuff that's happened in this movie, like a big fucking space hand coming out of the ocean, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine having to deal with a normal person in the MCU, having to deal with these existential threats to your existence on a daily basis and still like do your job?
Yeah.
Like, or even giving a fuck about it. Like, imagine having to justify like why you're not quitting hitting quota to like some dickhead sales manager, and then like at the same time there's just like this rainbow monster attacking the guy who played Robb Stark in Game of Thrones. And you're like, what's going on here? I don't care about my quota, right? Or you're like finishing your PhD, bro, on oceanography, and then like just a hand emerges from the ocean, and you're just like, everything I studied is wrong.
Just gone. I saw a great meme the other day, and it was like, you finish your shitty 9-to-5 job, you get downstairs, and you take off your fake smile, and you walk outside, and the Hulk's throwing your car, and it's just like some dude with like a deadpan face. I'm like,
fuck.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, super quickly then, 2 post-credit scenes. The first one is Harry Styles is in it.
Sweet, yay. Harry Styles, who's the brother of Thanos or something.
Yeah, the Eternals are going off into space to try and find other Eternals to warn them of what they're doing and see if they want to change their ways. And they're not finding them. So Harry Styles is going to help them.
Yeah.
He is Thanos' half-brother, except he doesn't look purple or with a dick chin.
Makes zero sense.
Eros. Now, Star Fox, I'm going to tell you super quickly because it's not something I want to linger on. In the comics, has this mind control-y pheromone thingy, and he's got kind of a bit of a rapist in the comic books.
Bit rapey.
It's really weird. So I don't know how they're gonna change that, obviously.
You never know. Maybe
maybe they don't. Maybe they just leave it. So that's a strange one. I don't mind it. The all CGI character was fine. And the other one is that Dane, who we know is the Black Knight, is getting hold of his blade, his ebony blade, which in the comics is the case of when you use it, it gradually turns you more and more evil the more you use it. And there's a voice that comes in and sort of says, like, are you sure you're ready for that? And it's been confirmed that is the voice of Mahershala Ali. I said that completely wrong. Who's Blade.
Tied those two worlds.
So cool. That's an intro.
That'd be really cool.
That's cool in the whole plot of this fucking movie.
Yeah, 100%.
That 100%. One wrinkle. The Blade is in this.
I thought it was kind of dumb, though, how he at one point was like, well, my family's got an odd history. Like, I was like, I thought it bugged me. I was just like, just shut up about it. Let's see.
Well, it was always going to be the post-credits scene. They were never going to do it in the movie. Oh, we forgot to mention at the end of this, 3 of them stay on Earth. Gemma-chan.
I forget.
Not Kingo. Kingo stays on Earth, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He wants to make
There is
movies.
like 12 of these characters.
Movies. There's so many Eternals, bro.
And it is... God, who's the last one who stays on Earth? It's not Gilgamesh, because he died. It's Phastos, the inventor. They all stay on Earth. And the big celestial comes down and basically takes them and says, I'm going to judge you. That's about it, right?
Yeah. That was like, and that made no sense to me either. I'm like, I guess there's like laws that they have to follow, maybe.
That is the Judge Eternal.
Yeah. Isn't
Celestial?
What's his name's dad a Celestial?
Who? Peter Quill?
Yeah. Or like half of one or something.
In the MCU, I think he was. I don't know about in the.
But he looked very different than like that.
Yeah.
He wasn't a big Easter Island totem pole.
Look.
There's a lot going on, bro.
Don't know. All right, I'm gonna give you some trivia, true or false.
Okay.
How do you feel? Actually, the first one isn't true or false. I'm just gonna tell you this because it's a bit sad. Because of the very first gay kiss in a Marvel movie.
Yes.
It's been banned in a whole heap of countries, especially in the Middle East, which really sucks. But I will get some trivia, true or false for you now. Trivia. I can't speak all of a sudden. I've lost my ability to speak. All right. According to Kumail Nanjiani, Chloe Zhao uses practical effects for the film and doesn't use very much green screen at all. True or false?
What do you mean? False.
It's true. Apparently, she doesn't.
What practical effects?
I'm like, is that this is all right? This is the piece of trivia. Although she clearly uses a ton of CGI.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know. That's a bit of a weird one. That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't at all.
Okay, here's a nice one for you. You'll like this. Keanu Reeves, Luke Evans, and Rami Malek and Ian McShane were considered for the role of Icarus before the casting was finalized.
Sure.
You like that one?
True.
It's actually false. They were all considered for Druig, the Barry Keogh character, the one who does the mind control. I find that's interesting, isn't it?
You and McGregor could have seen as Icarus.
Imagine Keanu Reeves. I could have seen that actually.
Well, Keanu Reeves is Icarus. I should have called that out.
That he was considered for Druig.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I should have caught that. But
right, final one for you. True or false? Chloe Zhao cites The Revenant as an influence for the movie and its action scenes. True or false?
False.
It's true, apparently. Apparently
didn't bleed through.
Look, I don't know where that came from, but
I guess there was a lot of forests.
There was a lot of weird animals. Look, that was very rambling.
Yes.
But as confused as this movie was, overview of the Eternals. Look, I liked it.
Yes.
Overall. I know you were indifferent.
Indifferent. I wouldn't say I was indifferent. I'm glad I went and watched it.
Yeah, okay.
It just wasn't what it could have been.
Yes, I agree. But I still enjoyed it. I would probably watch it again. I would probably watch it before I watched Aquaman.
I would probably watch it again, but like not pay attention to large swaths.
Okay.
Yeah.
Swaths. I love it.
You
brought up swaths this episode. I love it.
Word of the week.
I love it. All right. We have a couple of bits of correspondence before we move on. One of which I actually should have said before the movie. So, new friend of the show, Dan, he actually got to see the premiere of this. And I tried not to read his message because in case he gave spoilers. I actually asked for no spoilers, but he did say it's a very non-Marvel movie in a good way. He liked the overarching ideas, but it was too complex, which is kind of what we said.
I think that's a much more succinct way of saying
all the crap we just said. Yeah, great.
For an hour and 20 minutes, mate. Come on, talk about it. We'll never have a podcast again.
I agree with you, Dan. I think that's a fantastic way of
nail head.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, we've had some love recently from the Stitch Up on Instagram, who is one of our followers and one of our good friends. So thank you very much. He dropped us a message just saying, just wanted to let you know I've been listening to the podcast for the last few days during my workouts. And if nothing else, you've got a new fan. He digs it a lot. Thank you very much, mate. We really appreciate it. We love it.
Dude. Always love that.
We love hearing the feedback. Makes us know we're doing at least something sort of right for someone.
Yes.
All right. Well, do you want to wrap up the show?
I think that thanks everybody for coming on. You can reach out to us with thoughts, feelings, and love at podcastassemble@gmail.com or on Instagram at podcastassemble.
Correct. If you wanted to leave us a nice 5-star review, that would always help. Apparently, we don't know how or why.
Review farming here.
Nobody reviews anything anymore unless it's bad. So
yeah,
give us a 5-star review. We'd love it. Thank you very much.